Markus found his way into L&D in a roundabout way. Before becoming the Chief Evangelist at OBRIZUM, Markus was an Army officer, a headmaster, and continues to be an active mentor, and was recently named to the Forbes Technology Council and HBR Advisory Council. So something that I love about Markus is super animated. And what he told me is when he had a conversation with the good people at OBRIZUM, he was like, BS. AI can't do that. Show me. And so he was so wowed, he had to go work for them. So without further ado, Markus.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kat. Lovely. And yeah, I'll try to keep the animations to a minimum. As I share my screen, thinking about delivering skills, we always tend to come across one hot topic that also the guys this time said to me, why don't you explore that one a little bit today, Markus? And very happy to do so. And that is critical and creative thinking skills. And, really, really great topic, because make the team smarter. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? I mean, who wouldn't sign up to that? You're basically improving absolutely everything in the organization, and you're only deploying two things, and that is in itself almost absolute genius. Of course, a lot of you know where I'm heading with this, so we've got a very knowledgeable crowd here. But bear with me for a moment. Quiz time. So I want you for a quick moment to think about a critical or creative thinking strategy that you apply. So, when someone gives you a problem to solve, be it at work or be it strategic, or be it prior to a meeting, what strategy do you actually apply in order to find a solution? And then think about what are the steps that you apply. Do you go through a set series of steps each time? And then how would you share that approach or teach that to learners? And the main question is, can that in itself be taught? So I'd like to ask you just for a moment to think about that, and maybe put some comments in the chat for us as you're thinking about this one. Let's see what we get here in the chat. So we've got diverge, converge, diverge, converge. Yeah, that's a nice one in terms of how we generally say let's brainstorm, especially in the group. Have we got any other comments on critical thinking strategies that work? Research and looking for examples. Okay. Start with why. Very good. Okay. Evidence-based practice. Absolutely. So here's the thing. Most people find the creative one a bit easier, because they say, we allow the wide scope, and then we try to narrow it down, and that tends to be a strategy. But if you want to teach someone to do that, would you just tell them that's what they need to do? Because the moment you want to practice that with them, you're going to need an example. And as soon as you bring in an example, you're going to bring in a domain. And it's the same with critical thinking. I mean, people say, go to a quiet room, make sure everything is clear. And then I usually say, and then what? Do I just look at the ceiling until the answer suddenly hits me? What steps did I actually go through? No, I just leaned back and I thought about the problem for a bit. And so we very quickly realize that while clearly critical and creative thinking skills are a thing, we do it all the time. You just did when you thought about the little test I gave you. The problem is teachable, learnable, generic cognitive, critical, and creative thinking skills. Humans do display these, of course, but the thing is, the evidence suggests that they cannot be taught as a standalone skill. So what that means is they're down to a certain domain specificity. That means that skill exists around a certain topic or around a certain situation, and it's usually the result of knowledge, experience, existing mental models, long-term memory, and cognitive flexibility around that domain, topic, or situation. And so you might remember these brain train apps that we had a few years ago that just told everyone that you would just go on the app for 5 minutes a day and you'd be training your brain and you'd be getting cleverer. And well, the thing is, this was looked at, and no effect was shown, other than that you would improve exactly on the types of problems that you were faced with on the app, but not anywhere in the real world. So no transferable skills. And why is that? Well, how does the brain work? My favorite example is always from Julie Dirksen, Design for How People Learn. And she looks at the closet that you have at home for your clothes. And while your closet is what it is, it's what it is when you open the doors and there it is, the model of your brain is also similar in terms of that you have shelves. So for example, you have a blue pair of socks, and they're in one drawer in the closet, they're in a socks drawer, but they go in so many different shelves in the closet version in our brain, all at the same time. So that closet model works really nicely to think about this. And that model in your brain is the network of your memory and experiences around the socks. So in your brain, the socks go into socks. They go into all things that are blue. They go into all things that go with blue. Things for when it's cold, things you've had for a long time, things that are starting to wash out, things grandma bought you, Christmas gifts. If you had a special experience with those blue socks, be it camping, they might even be on the camping shelf, because every time you think about camping, you might think, oh yeah, I remember that incident with the blue socks. There you go. And so the better you know your closet and the longer you've been facing the things in it, the more flexible you'll be in coming up with the outfits that fit a certain day, temperature, settings, style, etc. And by going through the different shelves in the brain version of your closet, that's problem solving right there. That's creativity. And so what do we need to train and learn in order to achieve impactful training and learning for someone's role and for their development in reskilling and upskilling? Well, let's simply look at how good learning works. And good learning includes, of course, we all come from that angle. It includes variation, interleaving. It includes spaced out retrieval, spaced out practice, contextualization. Great. And how do we choose the difficulty for each learner? Pretty straightforward as well. We all know Vygotsky, who talked about the zone of proximal development, where there's this space between what you can do really easily and what you can't do no matter the support you get. And that's the space where learning happens. And Csikszentmihalyi talked about the flow state between too easy so that it's mind-numbingly boring and you learn nothing, and too hard so that it's frustrating and you're willing to immediately give up. And that flow, that zone flow is where the experiences are compelling and where I'm learning and where I'm moving forward. So when challenged with a problem or situation to solve, especially the one that we haven't encountered before, we have to think, we have to be creative. And the more practical and contextual our practice is and has been, the more we improve our experience and approach and confidence to such problems and situations and similar ones. And then we improve our cognitive flexibility. We create basically in our brain more shelves, more connections, and that happens through more practice and gives us higher mental agility. And yes, the practice needs to be challenging. We know that from good learning. i.e. it must feel a bit effortful. You know, it's allowed to be a little bit of fun, but it must feel effortful. And we also don't want it to be too emotional. We know that too positive emotions and too negative emotions hinder memories. So that's where we always come across this critical question of gamification, both from the fun angle as well as from, you know, we'd rather have intrinsic motivation than extrinsic motivation. And there we go. So all we know about really good learning and training is exactly what we need to improve the ability to transfer knowledge and experience and skills within or around a certain domain. So depending on the level of the learner, basic, intermediate, advanced, we realize that this is exactly what we should be doing in good learning environments anyway. And that is because we're adding to our brain closet new pieces. We're organizing our closet better through memory, associations, through practice and contextualization, and ability to match the right things with one another for the right occasion, applied contextualization and problem solving. So great learning improves the cognitive flexibility, the critical thinking, and the creativity. And if we're doing great learning and training, we're doing everything right to promote those, just as an aside. So what then do we focus on when we're teaching specific skills? Well, we want to, of course, look at 4 things here mainly. We want to leverage a range of great content for learning and practice and contextualization. That's absolutely key, that we have fantastic content there. And we want to leverage technology. Jonah mentioned this, such as AI for automation, for the tagging bit, for the creation and for the curation. We want to pull out the right piece at the right time for the right learner. And that's where technology is unbelievably powerful. And these learning experiences, they will still be done and created by humans. I've also just published an article with Clark Quinn on this in Learning Solutions magazine. If anyone's interested, that might be another little brain teaser there, if you like the topic. And then what we're looking for is, with those in place, with it, we can then deploy state-of-the-art digital and hybrid training. And here's the trick. While the digital is really advancing, the really fantastic thing is that we can now also leverage a whole new realm of learning analytics, driving powerful insights for data-driven decision makings, for individuals, for groups, and for, as Jono said, continuous learning is not an event, continuous workshops, training, mentoring, and coaching. And it's really an exciting time to be part of this journey. And yeah, so interestingly, creative and critical thinking skills just loops us back to really good learning practice.